Hey there, and welcome back. And this week I can't believe it, we are on week 19. And this week we're talking about the prayer card. And I find it very interesting because so many people, especially when I talk about spiritual things and I talk about chakra cards and tarot and esoteric, and they go, prayer? You believe in prayer? It's like, yeah. I also believe in God. But here's the thing. I honor whatever your beliefs are. I honor the path you're on. And that's what's really important. And when we look at prayer card, and this week I'm using, believe it or not, the Taiwanese version of the Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards. And over here, you can see in the corner there, that is the original deck, which is in English, and it's a little smaller. So these cards are going to be a bigger size card, and they've got the Chinese character and then the English word, which I think is kind of cool. So that said, the prayer card is a really fascinating, for me, it's one of the more interesting cards. It's called Cool Lemonade. And it's really about a life lived that was well lived and yet completely in a direction that this young man didn't want to go. And we find him now later in life, he's sipping lemonade on the porch with his grandson. So again, the reflective energy of these cards become very important. Now, remember what I said, this is the fourth card in the, that's the back of the card. This is the fourth card in the fables. So this is the fourth fable, and it is called the Fable of Lemonade. It's really the Fable of Cool Lemonade. And the idea is that when we look at this, the concept is relaxing and being in our hearts, right? Because it's the fourth card. So the fourth card is aligning ourselves properly with our third chakra, because this is a third chakra card. And yet, notice that there's green in here. So the yellow goes up into the heart chakra, the green. I thought I'd wear it for today. It goes up into the green of the heart chakra to remind us that we are connected to our heart through higher consciousness and through the idea of right thinking. The right thinking is aligned with our heart and our truth. And it's not always the path we think. And the concept of, if it's our will, it has to happen right away. And if it can wait a week, it's God's will. And that becomes part of the conversation here. So one of the things I want to point out too, that about now in these fables, you've either quit, and this will be your last one, or you've recognized that some strange things are happening. And what that strange thing is, it's uncommon and unfamiliar in some ways, that things may start aligning oddly, where you'll walk down a street and you'll say, gosh, I really need, I need a bottle of water. And there's like, everything's closed. And all of a sudden there's this little stand with a bottle of water. And I say this to you because when you start to really align yourself with the higher consciousness, I don't think there's going to be one I don't yawn in, guys. When we start aligning ourselves with that higher consciousness, what happens to us is all of a sudden the door opens and our life has an ease to it. It's not easy, but there's an ease to it in the path that we take. So that is a conversation around the way in which we journey. So the prayer card, if you look at it, and I want to show it to you one more time in the imagery here, just to show you the imagery up above. Notice that there's two choices, the city and the country. And you notice that the lemonade is sitting on a plaid tablecloth, indicating in some ways that he chose the path of the country. So this week determines what an authentic inner voice is. And you find out if yours is being expressed in your present path. So again, is what you're expressing, what you're planning, I would say planning, is aligned with your heart or your fourth chakra, right? Because that's where we're going after the third. Keeping Keep asking yourself if you're doing the right work and if you're in alignment with your dreams. And I think that becomes an important thing of like, not are you in alignment with something you're going to finish, but are you in alignment with something that is really calling to you and really means something to you? The Tori's tip this week is, on any journey, it's important to take stock of where you've been in order to gain perspective on your life. Cool Lemonade is a fable of reflection. Take time every day this week to contemplate a beautiful moment, and perhaps an unexpected moment, or one you didn't, a journey that you didn't really expect to go on. Also remember that this card, this week's focus, is my prayers got answered. And so that is a very important part of what we're really talking about with our prayers can get answered when we give up our need to have them answered in the way only we can hear. In other words, I refuse to hear it unless it's what I want. That's probably not the most supportive way for you to approach that. Now, there we go. These classes are a little difficult for me. The first impressions, and again, the first impressions in setting your intention, the first thing to remember here is that what will begin to show up for you, and what your job, if you will, this week, is to observe the idea of that you're not going to get what you actually ask for. You're going to get who you are reflected back to you. So I know for me, when I've been like in an angry spurt, I get, reflected back to me, a broken computer, my car doesn't run, everything goes haywire. So it becomes important for me to realign myself with a new way of thinking. Let's see. And the idea, and you've heard me say this before, life doesn't happen to us, it's happening through us. So this becomes part of being in alignment with spirit, being in a prayer and meditative state, even in your thoughts, even in your planning, even in where you think you're going. And this is really about setting the intention of, what if you could switch your mind? What if your mind got switched from, pressure to integrity or serenity at any moment? What if you could just recognize that something doesn't necessarily mean no, it may just mean not right now. And remember what you learned in Reggie Rust, right? And Reggie Rust, of course, was the fable of the impasse. That becomes important because you learned that sometimes God isn't saying no, he's just saying not this way. And so when we look at it that way, then we can recognize that the prayer card is about realigning ourselves with our true path, with our right thinking, if you will, the right path for us. And so what I encourage you to do when you look at the solo exercise and the journaling exercise, I'm going to really invite you to share with us below what came up for you with your solo exercise. Let's see. The idea this week is to look at some things that you wanted in your life that actually did not happen, and can you see why they didn't? And that becomes important because when you look at chakra manifesting and intention, you can see, well, maybe I really wasn't trying to make that happen. Maybe I really wasn't that person at the time. I want you to get this. I think I'm going to leave you with this message, which is that I had a friend who I was coaching at one time in Los Angeles, and I was trying to help him in his acting career. Very talented guy, very, very talented. And I was trying to give him suggestions on what to do. And I said, try this, try. He said, well, I did all that. And I said, okay, but you did all that when you came 4 years ago and you were an angry, bitter person. My sense is that approaching it as who you are now may have a different outcome. And he went, huh? I said, can you explain why two people baking, and I love this, baking the same cake, same ingredients, one will taste 10 times better? Why is that? It's because there is a certain energy that we bring forward into our cooking or life or anything we're doing that's going to dictate the outcome. And when we're dealing with other people, people know right away if you're phony. I'm sorry. Like, they may like what you have to say, or they may be interested in it, or we may have been trained to listen to certain people, like, for example, news people. We may be trained to listen to their delivery, but that doesn't mean it's enthralling, because they're trained to do that. But remember that when you come in as a higher conscious being, there is an attraction to what you're doing that, even though you did the same thing 4 years ago, you'll have a different outcome. Long story short, he booked a series 2 weeks later, and he really hasn't looked back. He's been very successful. What I'm trying to say to you is that when we shift our internal reality, it reflects in our external reality. And prayer is a very important component, particularly as the fourth card in the third chakra. It aligns us with what our God consciousness is connecting us with our higher consciousness of what's the best message and the best path for us to pursue. I will see you next time. And remember, post below your experience of the solo journey exercise from this week. And I'll see you next week.